right, everybody. We're going to be beginning this week's episode of the Safely Extreme podcast, where we discuss game dev and game design advice here on the Game Wisdom channel. As always, my co-host from Nexus Games is Sharky. How are you doing?
Hello, I am doing tired, I guess.
Alright, it is Valentine's Day as we are recording this, and we're not quite sure how we're celebrating that this year, right?
Yeah, I know how we should celebrate it.
Hey,
Let's say
Amir.
for extreme way.
Is that going clubbing right now? Or is that extreme?
Yeah, that would be extreme.
Well, Shark is suggesting I should play a game with Jill Valentine, and because that won't be too much on the nose, right?
Yeah, Jill Valentine. It's Valentine's Day, so it's her day. You've got to include her.
We'll see. So, in other news, what's going on? Still working on the book. I am now officially less than a month away from getting it finished. And my publisher reached out to, oh god, I can't believe I forgot their names already. John Carpenter and Clive Barker about maybe doing an interview with me. So, fingers crossed that goes through. I don't care if that's even just recorded. Just being able to, talk to them would be amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe
but
Bruce...
it'd be nice if you could get it recorded.
Yeah. Maybe Bruce Campbell as well, which I would just geek out about after watching all the Evil Dead movies.
Yeah, you might lose your mind.
Yeah. I might geek out about John Carpenter because I love The Thing. There's the perfect Valentine's Day movie right there, right? John Carpenter's The Thing.
Well, Among Us is based off The Thing, so you could just play Among Us.
Let me know if it does have it, Amir. I'm always curious about where the reach of that book gets. And what about Hellraiser? Is that all about love?
Well,
if a specific
love is hell, then yes.
Mm-hmm. But I guess keeping with our Valentine's Day theme, our topic for this week's show is going to be about building trust as a game studio. Why this is important, and why some of the very best indie and AAA companies have been doing this for a long time and cultivating a very healthy community around it. But before we get to that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that came up. For people watching, we're debating about turning maybe Friday night to maybe an open mic night for the stream, allowing people to come in and chat while I'm playing. Let me know what you think about that idea. And I guess any news this week from you, Shark, either in terms of Neon Continuum or just game news that's interesting?
Well, on Neon Continuum, we have we're about to start again trying to hire somebody for character artists and somebody for the programming. Mm-hmm. And if anybody checks the font, the thumbnail of this, today's show on my side, you'll see that we have a brand new font. It's new.
There you
Actually, it's probably about 50 news because it's probably about the 500th version of the font. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the new one. We'll have to see what everybody thinks about it once I get feedback and everything. I've already found some issues, and I'm trying to find out how I'm going to resolve those issues. Mm-hmm. But we'll see if there's any more that arise. And I'm excited to start seeing 3D backgrounds being made for it.
Nice.
Which hopefully will be coming soon.
Great. Here's one bit of game news I found interesting. I think I may either do a video about this, or this could be a topic going forward. And that is that Square Enix has announced that the Kingdom Hearts series is coming to the PC for the first time. And the reason why this is a very big deal is that we are seeing more and more Japanese developers really embrace PC gaming. Sega has been, really learning that lesson with the successes of Yakuza, Persona, and I think the new Persona game is going to be on PC as well. And I think I was talking to somebody else on Twitter, like, I think this is about time that we're seeing more of these Japanese studios come to the PC. And Nice being another really big example of it with porting the Disgaea games.
Hmm. Although what we see sometimes is it's just a bare bones port that
Yeah.
doesn't even function right. It's just a console game on the PC rather than a PC game. Which,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully we don't go that route. But seeing Squeenix's history of that, of what they've done, I'm betting that's what we're going to get.
Mm-hmm. Well, the story has always been, Amir, that part of it was being afraid of piracy. And I know there's another reason that I'm blanking on right now.
They were afraid of piracy, so they forced them to pirate it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you know, we're afraid people are going to pirate our thing, so we're going to force them to pirate it.
Mm-hmm. And
That's a smart move.
And like I said, there's definitely a greater topic to explore with this, especially when it comes to getting these games more notoriety and more, eyes on them. And I was telling Shark about another game at a dungeon crawler that I was playing last night that I'm pretty sure this was either like a Wii U exclusive or a 3DS exclusive, and it's taken them like 5 or 6 years, even more than that, to bring that to PC. And what we're learning, or what I should say, what we know and what they're learning, is that there is a market for these games. People like to play RPGs on the computer, right, Shark?
No. Nobody likes playing RPGs on the computer.
Mm-hmm. Or deck builders.
No. And I've never made either one of those,
Yeah.
or currently making either one.
And you never play any of the Disgaea games. Hey,
Nope.
Ratstail.
Never put 2,000 plus hours into any of those games.
Mm-hmm. Now, the one thing that may be a little bit of a roadblock for Square Enix is that I'm reading the title names for these games that are coming out. So we're getting Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 Remix, which that makes. Is that slightly extreme, or is that just extreme in terms of a naming convention?
It's extreme because they do not. They have like 20 games between like Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 3, which, as far as I know, Kingdom Hearts 3 is still not out yet.
I think it did come out last year, right?
Did it?
I think.
I thought it was 2.8 or something that came out last year.
There is a Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Cut. That name annoys me as I read that out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're getting Kingdom Hearts 3 plus Remind and Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. I guess that covers everything?
No.
I don't know.
No. See, the thing is basically, they have basically every point and decimal are like side stories and all this other stuff. And, it's really confusing the way they do it, to the point where I'm glad I don't play those games, because the confusion is real,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the first one all the way up until I got to the final boss, and then I was like, yep, nope.
People don't want me to play that one. I can just see it happening, and then I'll piss off all the Final Fantasy and Disney fans in a single stream.
I love the first game all the way up until basically the final boss. The final boss is when they implemented something new, and forced you into it for the final fight. Because the whole way through, you play as your one character, and then you have two party members that help you, kind of thing. So I built myself to be, a damage dealer, set, Goofy to be a damage dealer with a little bit of healing, and I set, Donald to be a spell user and healer, kind of thing. And then it's just like, yeah, Donald and Goofy can't come with you anymore.
Oh, good.
And it's like, okay, and how am I going to heal myself?
And then the game goes, I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I had healing spells, but the thing is
Hey, David.
the entire time I was playing, I basically never used spells because it was the UI UX of it is so annoying and something I can't do. Hence, being forced into doing that right at the final boss.
Yeah.
And it's like the only way I can win this is if I grind, levels to where I don't need to heal for the next like 30, 40 hours. And I was like, yeah, never touching this game again or any of this.
It kind of reminds me, like, one of the biggest things I find is that when I play like first person like dungeon crawlers like Legend of Grimrock and Vaporium, that my mind, it has such a hard time of moving around using the keyboard in those games, because I'm so used to first person shooter controls where A and D is sidestep, and it just always feels weird to me. Like I have to like retrain myself. And it's the same thing I feel like when I was trying to play Kingdom Hearts, where hey, it's an action game, but you also have to menu while you're doing all the action.
Yeah. Now then, if they had paused the game when you were in menu, that would have been a completely different story. Yeah. I could have played that.
Yeah.
I could have played it way better than I did, but the fact is they didn't. So
I remember so many nightmares.
And I couldn't, without doing that, I stood no chance in the final boss.
I did play Kingdom Hearts 2, and I do not remember one damn thing from that game. I beat the game, I think. I don't remember anything that I actually did in that game.
And also, the other thing is with the Kingdom Hearts games, I hear after the first game, they really screwed up the story.
Even more so?
I mean, the first one wasn't screwed up, kind of thing. It was after the first one when everything got screwed up.
They have to. Oh my goodness! There's like 8. How many games are there that have to explain the story? And then there's games that explain the story of those games that explain the story.
Well, the thing is they retcon stuff. So like you have to get the game that explains that this stuff is retcon, that explains this stuff is retcon, that explains this stuff is retcon.
Hey, Soren.
And I don't know how much of the story is actually retcon, but then there's just this, the organization of all the story bits to where you've seen one of those movies where what was it? One really famous movie where it tells you the parts of the story out of order.
Usual Suspects?
Maybe. Well, think about that, but over like 3,000 hours and way more mixed up.
Sounds like everything I hate about anime, like, condensed into one thing. Kill Bill?
And it's not even anime, and anime doesn't generally do that.
Yeah. Alright, but now that Soren's here, I think that we can get started on our main topic here. But
Soren, we were waiting on Soren this entire time?
Yeah, we've been just holding back.
Well, you need to hurry up next time, Soren. I got tired of waiting on you.
But let's talk a little bit about trust when it comes to a game company and to just kind of studio culture in general. And this is something that over the last decade, or now over the last 11 years, we've really seen indie developers kind of cultivate this, and really the better ones, I should say, excel at building consumer trust. And this is something that's very important when it comes to surviving in basically any kind of consumer-driven market, especially like for myself on here with YouTube. If I just lie and yell at everyone all day, I don't think you guys would be staying around, unless you're masochists.
Well, it would depend. I mean, like if you were a normal YouTuber, they probably would. But
and demand donations, or I turn off my stream.
Yeah, and put your Raid Shadow Legend ads in there.
Yeah. But yeah, to Rat's Tail's point, yeah, indie devs have awesome studios. That is generally what we see, and a lot of that comes with the advantage of transparency. The fact that as an indie developer, most studios don't have 40 to 100 people in them. Most of them don't even have like 20 to 25. And this gives you that greater sense of connection. And one of the reasons why I've interviewed so many developers is that when I contact an indie studio, most likely I'm talking to the person in charge who's also the lead designer.
Hmm. I know my studio doesn't have 20 to 25. My studio, let's see here, has about five.
Mm-hmm.
There's about five of us. Assuming that the roles are filled.
Yeah.
Right now they're not, So
And,
there's only like three right now.
and when it comes to a lot of these studios, could we see larger studios become more popular? I mean, we could argue that companies like Nintendo have certainly built up both trust and a very fervent fan base. We could even argue see Project Red has done that as well.
Yeah. And Amir, you got it backwards kind of thing. It's the more popular studios become the larger indie studios.
Yeah, and again, what is an indie developer? That's another hour and a half. I think we could add on to our talk tonight.
And we can sum it up in 3 words.
Mm-hmm.
It's a studio that owns itself.
That's
It's
more than three
not,
words.
well, what was that, 4?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a corporation. It is a independently owned thing, like an LLC or something like that. It's not a corporation. There is no board of this, board of that. I get so bored of talking about all the boards.
I don't know, David. We'll have to see when it comes out if people want me to go through Kingdom Hearts again. Yeah. But having that layer of transparency has been very beneficial for indie developers, and it has gone a long way towards building this level of trust when it comes to these companies. Because as a small developer, you need to have trust with your audience, or hell, as any company, you need to have that trust. Because without it, people aren't going to want to support you. And for any developers who don't have massive marketing campaigns and the clout to kind of push their name all over the place, you need your fan base to support you.
Mm-hmm. And this is another instance of where any developers have it harder than AAA kind of thing in anybody else, because when when you're AAA, you can do whatever. You can piss off the fan base as much as you want, at least to a certain point, and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even have to earn anything. They don't have to earn their fan base because they already have it. Now with indies kind of thing, if you more than likely don't have a fan base already, and if you screw up from the beginning kind of thing, you're never going to have one, kind of thing. On the other hand, if you already have one and you screw up really bad, you're going to lose that fan base.
Yeah.
Although, if you're an indie studio like I don't know, CD Projekt Red, that everybody calls an indie studio, that isn't, then you have all the qualifications of a you're exactly like a AAA, except for people call you an indie. You're corporate. You have all the fan base. You have all this stuff, and you're exactly like a AAA. Yet people call you an indie because because they're automatically an indie, right? I mean, because they get they independently.
Is corporate indie safely extreme?
They're AAA.
Mm-hmm. And it's very tricky again, like for larger companies who can kind of burn through their trust and cloud very easily, as we saw with Blizzard. And at this point, for Blizzard to bring me back, I think they'll have to not only announce Diablo 4, they'll need to announce Diablo 5 through 7. I want StarCraft 3. I want Lost Vikings 3. I also want them to get me a Plock 2. And I know Plock has nothing to do with Blizzard, but yeah, I still want them to do that for me.
Mhm. Well, the thing is, you know, CD Projekt Red burned through their fan base like hell with the Cyberpunk 2077, but they made a lot of money on day one, despite burning through it, because they're AAA and they're corporate. That's
and
what.
indie.
That's what. You can't be corporate indie.
Yeah, I'm really reaching back with that one, David. How many people will get that reference? We'll see.
I mean, indie means basically that you're not corporate. That's basically what it means.
And part of the reason why CD Projekt Red was able to basically burn through a lot of their goodwill was that they built it up over the last decade. That the original Witcher game was not very well received. And it took them an enhanced edition, I think about like a year or so of updates and patches in order to get the game to a level that people really enjoyed. And then they cultivated their fan base in order to get a lot of success for The Witcher 2. And that kind of community management, that kind of community engagement is a very essential part of when it comes to building up a community and building trust around them. And why we say you need to have somebody on your PR side as an indie developer.
Mm-hmm. And to admire, does it really though? Yes, because a corporation it's required to get a big corporation that you have to have all these different boards kind of thing. You have to have the board of directors, you have to have the, this board, that board, all the boards kind of thing. And I think it's before you even talk about, people who actually work at the studio, I think you have to have like 120 people, bare minimum, in the boards kind of thing that are not working on the game before you can even start working on the game. So, that is, that is a corporation, and that's not indie. Indie means that you're independent, not independently funded, but independent. There's a very big difference between independently funded and independent, because a lot of indies are not independently funded. Mine is, but a lot of indies go to publishers and stuff for funding, meaning they're not or Kickstarter and they're publicly funded.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that this one studio is not independent. Independently funded is very different from being independent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can be independent on both. You
or
can be
one on the other.
Yeah, and, but being independently funded. I mean, EA is independently funded.
Mm-hmm.
All the AAAs are independently funded. Independently funded has nothing to do with being indie. That just has to do to whether you have money to actually pay for the game development, which usually indies do not, which usually means that indies are not independently funded.
Mm-hmm. And getting back to kind of like the advantages of being an indie developer along these lines, that when we speak about kind of the indie games that blow up or quote unquote made it, FTL, Darkest Dungeon, Kit Fox, Clay. Again, I could just sit here and start naming off all the indie games on my Steam list here. That a lot of people assume that these games were just good and that, did all the work for them. Again, how many people have said, if you just release a good game, all your problems magically go away? Game
Yeah,
development is magic, right, Shark?
yeah. Well, the fact is that used to be true
Mm-hmm.
back in a different marketplace.
Like
Like
10, 12 years ago.
yeah, 10, 12 years ago. Back before Steam was flooded with games, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Before anybody had a library of 300 games. More or
Mm-hmm.
less, 2 or 3,000.
Yeah.
It
And
was before the average person even played on PC because basically,
PC was dead at one point, or
yeah,
supposedly dead.
yeah, it was very, very inactive.
And what we've seen as kind of the counterpoint is that the studios that I just mentioned, they've succeeded by really building their community as a support for them and as their own form of marketing. Again, when I spoke with Red Hook, Chris Barasa, Tyler Sigmund about Darkest Dungeon, they were doing promoting and reaching out to people a good year before they even had the Kickstarter to start building up awareness for their game and getting people excited about it. Again, FTL had the mega success of their Kickstarter that they use going forward into the breach. Clay has always done a lot in terms of keeping their fans. You like turtles? Thank you. Keeping their fans engaged and keeping them educated about what the company is doing. And again, Kid Fox is another standard example.
Yeah, I like turtles too, but I prefer sharks.
What about Teenage Mutant Ninja Sharks?
There we go.
And I know Kid Fox is a former community manager, Victoria, who's now at Among Us, Innersloth. Like, she's put together several GDC talks and articles discussing about community engagement, how that was so much of a success for Kid Fox for the last decade.
Hmm. And marketing, has to do, is dealing with gaining trust of the players, kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's there. That's part of the marketing. That's the community management side of marketing. That's also some of the social media side of it, kind of thing. It's not so much with the YouTube and ad side of it, but I mean, like any side where you interact with your players, kind of thing. That's where it's key.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it's very difficult for, I think, a lot of developers to kind of understand, if you don't already do it, to understand just how much the community really does matter in terms of whether or not you'll succeed or fail.
At least now.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't used to be that way because I mean, it used to be the communities were basically invisible because nobody could see the communities. The only time you would ever see communities would be like at some game show, that was open to the public,
Mm-hmm.
which weren't really much of a thing until 5 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
it would be rare when you ever seen anybody, because like most of the marketing and advertising back in the old days was through magazines. If you put, there was a saying way back in the old days, the NES and SNES days, is that if you put an ad, in a spread ad into one of those magazines, you were good. If only it was that simple now.
Mm-hmm. And as Char was just saying, like, the rise of stuff like Discord being a very powerful tool for developers, Steam forums being probably the precursor to that. The idea that you can actually talk to somebody, talk to your fans, or your fans talking to the developers, is huge. And it's as easy as just going to a store page or clicking on a Discord. Where before, you had to find the developer's website, you had to find the email on that site, and a lot of indie developers still to this day have very poor or non-existent, company page or game site.
Mm-hmm. Why would you never do a Discord server? That's just like the number one key, I think. That's the reason why I have a Discord server. You should join it. Link down in the description.
Do I have a Discord channel?
You might.
Mm-hmm.
You might.
It's somewhere here as well.
Yeah, link down in the description.
And community engagement is a cornerstone of building up trust. And as a developer, there are several things you can do to kind of do that on your own or to help cultivate that. You want to allow people to communicate with you, whether it's as innocuous as just a forum or a message board, to even having, fan contests, fan art, live streams, AMAs, anything along those lines.
Dev chats.
Mm-hmm. Oh, voice is dying already.
Yeah, you want to have some, you want to have as many interactions as you can with fans, as well as, have them be good reaction, interactions rather, not reactions, which, is a art form of its own. And, a lot of indies are, not built for that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, and if you're not willing to learn that, I would definitely suggest having a community manager and a social media manager to handle that for you, because if you don't, then you're going to be screwed by that, basically. Because if there's no way to connect to you, then you're in trouble. And the thing is if you're just pawning this off, like if you're not really pawning this off, if you're paying people to moderate your stuff and whatnot and run your community and all that, you're responsible for what they do. So if you hire somebody who I don't know is a racist, and they start saying racist things on your social media, that's not going to look bad on them. It's going to look bad on you. And you got to be very, very careful about that.
So you also...
go ahead.
I was just saying, you also have to make sure to, have a talk to the community about how you want them to treat people. Because like Shark said, if your mods or your community cause trouble, it's going to come back to you because you are the head of that community.
And I would also suggest, as a head of community, even if you are hiring all these people, do not 100% leave it to them. Even I'm not even just talking about checking over what they do. I mean, if you do not pay any attention to your thing, if you're not like you show up like once a month to talk to people kind of thing, if you're not doing that, then people are going to leave, because at that point it's not your fan base, it's the people who bought your game or interested in your game, and it's the people you've hired to manage them, and you're not there. If you're not part of it at all, 0%, then people are going to get pissed and leave, kind of thing. I know there's some games that I really like that their community has been like that, and and I've left their Discords.
What often happens is that if the developers and the kind of the people who are in charge aren't part of the Discord, then it's not really a company Discord, it's a fan Discord. And that is a different beast than saying that this is the official Discord of whoever.
And, again, it's all right to not be completely in there like 24/7. You don't have to be the community manager, but you need to be part of that community. Whether it's, once a month AMAs kind of thing and voice chat or text chat or whatever it is, it needs to be something. You need to be there in some way, some form, at a regular interval kind of thing. That doesn't mean like daily, but once a month, whatever. You need, once a month is a bare minimum kind of thing. And I would definitely suggest more than that. But that's the bare minimum kind of thing. And don't make it where you're a stranger to your own community, because that's the way to destroy your community. And at that point, there's no point in paying all these people to run it. At this point, it's there's no point in making a game. At that point, it's no point of being a game developer. I mean, at that point, the only thing you should be doing is, if you're not going to be doing all that, if you're not going to run your own community, be a part of your own community, have a community set up. If you're not going to do all that stuff, then you shouldn't be running your own studio. What you should be doing is either not doing game development at all, or working for somebody else who runs their community. Because if you do not have a community that's being ran, you do not have a studio.
Yep. And this gets at the heart of why a lot of developers will sit there and go, I released my game, why is anyone buying it? Well, do you have a community? Do people know about you? And again, this is often the nail in the coffin for a lot of smaller studios, that they'll completely disregard any kind of PR, social media, community engagement, and then wonder, why is nobody buying my game?
And there's a very good reason for that. Because either nobody knows you exist, or nobody cares you exist because you don't care if they exist.
And this is another thing that I see a lot of developers will try and do. We've seen this when we do our indie inquiries and the Weird Games segment previously, that they'll try to put a sob story on their store page. This is my first game. I've never, I've spent, my entire life for the last 10 years making this game. Please buy it. The consumer doesn't care if you don't care about them.
I mean, I could have done that to my last page, but I didn't. I mean, we looked over that in the last indie inquiry. There was nothing about it being my first game. I mean, maybe I should have included that at the bottom, but that would have been, the extra at the end kind of thing, if anything.
And you have to be really careful. As we said, you have to understand how to engage with people. And this starts pretty much with just reaching out. And this is a tough point for a lot of people, because I'm sure there are no introverts in the game industry, right?
No. I'm not an introvert or anything. You're not an introvert either, are you, Josh?
No. And it's something, it becomes easier over time. But the first thing you need to do is you have to have some way for people to reach out to you and for you to reach out to them. This is, again, why Steam forums, Discords, Twitter, Facebook are really good first steps.
Yeah. And to people who think that, that Josh and I are not introverts kind of thing, back in 2014, I wouldn't talk to anybody for anywhere on the internet. I mean, I would talk to them through text and text only. I would never voice chat with them. I would never do any of that kind of thing. I would never live stream. I would never do any of that stuff. I would, be just, font on a window kind of thing. and that would be it. And I'm pretty sure Josh has a similar story to that, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just completely 10 for 10 as an introvert. Like, I didn't want to talk to anyone, and it took a lot of time and just really doing more game wisdom to get to that point where I could be comfortable in front of people.
Yeah, and now you and I just talk to all these professional people that people would fanboy slash fangirl about, and we just do it nonchalantly, kind of thing, because we're used to it, kind of thing now, and we can hop in the voice chat with just about anybody, except for maybe Bruce Campbell, right?
Or Keanu.
Yeah,
And it is a very tricky thing, I think, for a lot of developers to try and pick this up, because it's not something that you can really be taught. At least I don't think so. You can be given advice, but it really comes back on you in terms of being able to do this.
yeah. And to Mojo's point, I can't afford an underwater camera.
If you only game you can certainly build it around concept art, or doing stuff like that, or even just making videos about what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, like we didn't have a game until Chromasia released, but we had a community before Chromasia released. We technically had a community before Chromasia even started, because we had built concepts and demos and stuff, and I streamed on Twitch and whatnot, and streamed my game development as well as some games and whatnot, and that got people to join the Discord, kind of thing, because they were interested in the concepts I was making and the games I was playing, kind of thing. Mostly 7 Days to Die.
Mm-hmm.
And they joined the community, and over time more and more people have joined. People have also left and everything, and I mean, I think I got really quickly up to, I think it was like 30 people, kind of thing. And then after that, it's been a slow grind. And now I think we're at around 110 people or something. It's just kind of same thing on YouTube. My YouTube channel, we got up to, I think it was 20 subscribers really, really quickly. But it's been a slow grind up to now 42. So, and we had just hit 40. I think it was 3 days ago. So I don't know where this two came from, really quick, because I didn't see no notifications on them. But apparently, yeah, we have 42 now. So, hopefully soon we'll hit 50.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody watching this video subscribes, heck, we might hit, on both Josh's channel and my channel, we might hit, 60, 70, 80 before the end of the day.
Yep, we'll see. Maybe one day we'll wake up and we'll each have like an extra 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I mean, if Neon Continuum, explodes, kind of thing, in a good way, and I might have like 1 million subscribers overnight. At which point, Josh will probably get about 300-400K overnight.
And yeah, exactly. Join up. And as you're trying to do all this in terms of getting this community going, you want to be able to reach out to people. And like we said, the stuff that we're discussing, this is bare minimal. You want to have some kind of landing page, some kind of community page for people to find and reach out to you on.
Mm-hmm. And, everybody has their own preference to where they go, but I think Discord right now is the best home for communities. That doesn't mean you won't have communities outside of that, but Discord is the one that gives you all the options, kind of thing. You can voice chat. You can have like the most connected of communities in Discord, kind of thing. You're very limited to how connected you can be on YouTube through comments. On YouTube, there's live streams. You can be a lot more connected than that, and you're also limited on Facebook and Twitter and everything. You're probably Facebook and Twitter is probably the most limited kind of thing with an email. Well, email is probably the most limited, but then Facebook and Twitter behind that kind of thing, YouTube right behind that, and then YouTube streaming behind that, and then maybe Twitch streaming, and then Discord after that, something like that. But like, it's the order of levels of connection that you can have with your community, and the stronger the connection, the better. As long as it's a good, healthy connection, anyway. Which is what this is about. You need a good, healthy connection. You need to gain the player's trust, and don't betray it.
Yeah. So here's a question, like, to switch gears, how does a company betray trust? What are some of the things to avoid?
Cyberpunk 2077.
But to be serious, you want to avoid anything, you want to avoid lying or misrepresenting what is going on with your company and your studio, because people are very attentive about if you do something bad.
There was never any bad stories about No Man's Sky. I meant One Man's Lie. There is no controversies that boiled up because of lies and betraying that trust that was built up. But the thing is, they did still succeed because they got lucky, and because they had, I don't know, Sony marketing them heavily and so much hype around their game. And if you do not have all that stuff, don't expect as good as an outcome as they got. Expect far, far worse.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything about a dollhouse rat sale. Maybe they did just block it. Nah, gamers are forgiving, I think, to a certain extent. And again, part of that is how you manage expectations. If you just outright lie to people and say, we're going to put this, and this, and our game will be done by next month, and that doesn't happen, you just basically made a enemy for life there.
Yeah, I don't think it's I think it's fanboys and fangirls that are extremely forgiving because you can do no wrong, kind of thing. The non-fanboys, fangirls kind of thing, those are far less forgiving. And depending on which ones it is, depending on how unforgiving they are. And you can piss them off, and they will do everything they can to destroy you. Not just stop buying your games. They will actively try to destroy you. They will I think there was this case that happened a few days ago where, I don't know, a tiny game called Cyberpunk 2077, their studio was hacked and all their files were stolen, and they were actively attacked for no reason at all, because they did nothing to invoke the audience to hate them, right? They didn't do anything wrong, right?
And again, we're not saying that stuff is good, that they got hacked, but you have to realize that just as that fandom is a double-edged sword, and if things get bad, like if you really infuriate the people who are trying to support you, they will do everything within their power to get back at you.
Mm-hmm. And you don't want to invoke the wrath of people like that. In matter of fact, you want to avoid it like a plague. And the thing is even if you do your best, and your best is one of the best out there, there's no way to prevent it. There's a way that you can reduce it to a incredible degree, kind of thing. But there's no 100% solution. There will always be people that you piss off.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you do everything right, everybody loves you, and because everybody loves you, people hate you because they are jealous of you being loved like that, and it's like, why am I not loved like that? I deserve that. So these people are. I hate these people because they're getting what I want. So there's and they will try to destroy you because you're where they want to be, kind of thing, and they're not you, kind of thing. So like if even if you're insanely loved, kind of thing, you're still going to get it, kind of thing. So like you need to prepare yourself because nobody can get a 100% flawless. You will always take damage in fighting game terms. There is no perfect matches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there is a difference between finishing with like, I don't know, 95% HP and like 1 HP or like you're well into negative and they're at full HP still.
Mm-hmm.
So you still want to finish with as much HP as possible, but you'll never be able to do the flawless.
And when you're losing trust like that, I think we've said this before, that it takes arguably a lot more work to bring people back from the negative than it is just to make somebody who's happy happier with you.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's easy to make them happier. Just give them more.
Yeah. And like Overkill, when they try to implement loot boxes into Payday, ran into that problem in a very big way. And it cost them a lot of goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you don't get that back. Like we said, if you piss people off, they're not going to come back to you.
Yeah, you often don't get it back, kind of thing. There are exceptions when you get it back. Now you may gain other people after the fact, but you often won't get those same people back.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's where things get very confusing for developers. Like, they'll think, oh, well, I still have 1,000 people, 1,000 fans or 1,000 consumers, so I didn't do anything wrong. But what could have happened was you could have lost 400 people and maybe gained 400 more fans, so you're at, net zero.
Mm-hmm. And net zero is not doing nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be gaining, because if you ain't gaining, then that means the people you're losing, you're either not replacing enough to just keep it even, or you're just barely keeping it even, kind of thing, which means that you're losing way too many. You don't want besides YouTube going through your thing and getting rid of all your subscribers, you don't want in general your subscriber count to go down naturally without YouTube's interference rather than up. I mean, it will go down at the same time it's going up, kind of thing, but you want a upward trend over time, without YouTube's, hands muddy in the water.
Mm-hmm. And you have to be very attentive about how you communicate your messaging to people. Because, like we've said, the internet doesn't forget. And we've seen developers and YouTubers and streamers get into a lot of trouble if they either go back on their word or if something gets dug up about them many months, days, years, whatever after the fact. Sean Murray, I think that was Amir.
I mean, if you mean they the way they dealt with the hate was they just went radio silent. I don't think that's admirable.
And they kind of pushed through it. And again, like No Man's Sky is one of those games that it's very hard to put them to like a normal scale. Oh, I think my internet just crapped out for a second. Are we still up?
We're up on my side.
Okay.
I don't know about your side.
Yeah, it kind of just dipped for a second there. And how you approach these gaffes? Oh man, something is definitely acting up. Let me know if things start getting messed up.
Yeah, just on my side. Yeah. On your side, brother.
Yeah, hopefully. I know we're supposed to be getting like more rain or something. Yeah, and to Rat's Tail's point, like radio silence, you don't want to do that. You need to be communicating to people why you're doing something and what's going on.
Yeah. Although, sometimes radio silence is what you have to do. And, sometimes it's, complete radio silence. Sometimes it's just partial radio silence. But, like if, like I should have done radio silence when it came to that drama video that, that YouTuber made for my, last game because, replying to that only gave his, fan base, a reason to attack me kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have, maintained radio silence on that kind of thing. Where on everything else I shouldn't have kind of thing. But I should have, definitely maintained it there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a time to be silent and times not to be silent, if people call my game a pay-to-win loot box, kind of thing, probably should be silent to that. Or, or keep a very minimum of communication there. Kind of thing. If people come on my page and, leave that, the comment I probably should try to leave if I reply to it at all, I should stay silent or reply to, I'm sorry you feel that way. We've built it to try to be as consumer friendly as possible. Could you let us know what exactly you did not like about it, kind of thing? And keep it very minimum, and absolutely at no point tell them that they were wrong. Even though they're clearly wrong, kind of thing. But it could be something very, very minor, kind of thing. But you have to answer in such a way that is very professional, very not angry, kind of thing. Even though you will be very, very angry.
Yeah.
And usually for a good reason, kind of thing.
Yeah. I remember speaking with one of the members of Clay who said that one of the advice they gave was, before you respond to anything, take at least 30 minutes before you type up a response to give yourself time to cool off. And again, you need to be really careful how you present yourself to people, because nobody wants to support somebody who is actively antagonizing, their community. And on the other side, there's like to Rat's Tail comment about being radio silent, that people should never be asking what's going on with a game. And that right there is how you just immediately burn through trust. And some studios will say, well, we did an AMA at 3 o'clock in the morning on a subreddit group. That's where we gave all our information. No. You have to make information as easy to find as possible. So if you have a Steam page, you should be doing Steam updates. If you have a YouTube channel, there should be YouTube videos.
He did not stay humble. I mean, he lied his way through it until the lies became too much, and then he the studio, somebody forced him to be silent because he was only digging that hole deeper and deeper every day until he went silent.
Realistic. Yeah.
Of course, from what I hear, is Sony was partially pushing him to do so. I don't know how much of the push that came from Sony kind of thing, because we don't have access to the back doors, meetings kind of thing. So we don't know how much was Murray and how much was Sony, but we know it was both of them. And we know that, and the reason why we know it's both of them is because we know that Sony was putting that pressure on him. And we know Murray said the things. So, even if Murray disagreed with them, kind of thing. And that means he agreed to stay with them, which means that he agreed despite him disagreeing.
Mm-hmm. And when you're trying to keep people updated, it's not just about having something brand new up and available. You want to be constant. And this is where consistency, I think, really comes into play. That if you say every Friday, I'm going to do a news piece, well, you better have a news piece ready for every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And
if Josh, you said that we're going to start at 3:00, you need to be here at 3:00 to start at 3:00.
Mm-hmm. I'm inconsistently consistent. Is that safely extreme?
That's extremely extreme. You need to get good at being on time. Follow your own lessons, your own teachings.
What's that expression? Do as I say, not as I do.
You got to get good at doing what you say.
And when you're trying to engage with your community along these lines, you always want to make it as easy as possible for people to find you. So that means, again, having good social media presence. Being able to, as on our indie shows, we say you should have your social media listings on your company info. You don't want people to have to hunt you down, whether it's, for news or to get in touch with you.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, consistency is key, Rats, and you've got to get good at being consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And on time. And Josh has to he's got the consistent down. He's got to get good at being on time. I'm good at being consistent and on time. I'm just not good at getting teammates
Mm-hmm.
to get stuff that have the same qualities.
And when you're trying to reach out to people like this, it can be very difficult. Again, if you don't have, if you're not really good at being extroverted, or even be able to fake being extroverted, it is very nerve-wracking for that first time. And I'm trying to think, what I did was just simply kept doing it until it became natural. But I don't know if that's really good advice.
Yeah, I got into it by a different way. The way I got into it was first, I just talked to, I talked to everybody on MSN, used the heck out of that, and never did voice calls kind of thing. And then then I started, followed my, first mentor Latch on Twitch and everything, and was talking to him and everything. And he got me wanting to live stream, and wanting to show what I make off through live streaming. So I started live streaming. And of course, the the instant I did, people started complaining about not having a mic. So I went and got a mic. So, it was very, very awkward and it took a while to get used to. But, over time, I became fine with it, kind of thing. And then somebody, one of my friends on there, added me, wanted to add me on MSN. So, we started talking on MSN kind of thing. And then he wanted to voice chat on MSN. And I was like, no. And then I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. It's exactly the same thing as streaming kind of thing. But I get to hear their voice. I was like, I guess. And then I did my first voice call kind of thing. I streamed before I did voice call because it was one-sided kind of thing. And then it was, two-sided after that point. And then after that, I kept on talking to people, over and over kind of thing. And it became more natural. And then I started talking to people who were more famous and whatnot. And, keep on climbing that ladder up. And, now I can talk to basically anybody with, no cares given on the internet anyway, through Discord, through a voice call kind of thing. Still, right now in person, if you'll come and meet me in person, I will be a mute kind of thing. I will, you'll say hello and I might say hello back and that'll be the end of that unless you start up this conversation that has me answering questions like what can we expect out of Neon Continuum? Will they have this? Will they have that? And I'll be like, it won't have this. It will have this kind of thing.
We both...
And then you keep on, and then eventually, I'll be going, pick up steam and everything, and then I'll just won't stop.
We need to prepare for when reporters begin to harass us on the streets, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. People will be running around me, Josh, will you ever get good at games?
And the answer will always be no.
Mm-hmm. And prepare for people saying, Neon Continuum is pay to win. How do you respond?
We've aimed to make it consumer friendly as possible. But sadly, not everybody's happy. You can't make everybody happy.
No, you cannot. And that's another very big point about when it comes to trust. That when you're dealing with a community and trying to engage with them, you do need to set ground rules for how things work. As we said a few minutes ago with how things come back to bite you, that if you don't kind of, draw a line in the sand about how certain things matter or what does in your community, it can run amok. I think I saw Ninja getting into some more trouble again for, I think, members of his community, I think harassing somebody, and he really wasn't, doing anything to try and stop it.
Mm-mm. But didn't know about it.
That I don't know, but as we said, even if you don't know about it, even if you have nothing to do with it, if you are the head of a community or head of a fan base, it does fall back on you whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm. Because in the end, it's your fault no matter what. Yep. Even if it isn't your fault. Because it's your community, therefore, it's your fault. Even if you had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you make, I don't know, keyboards kind of thing. And, you sell those keyboards and, you make the best keyboards out there. But the retailers that get those keyboards decide to hike up the price because they can. And, where you were selling those keyboards for $15 a piece, they're selling them for $3,000 a piece. Well, guess who's going to have to, deal with that? You. Not the retailers, but you. Because consumers do not know that the retailers did that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And what you're going to have to do to quell that is probably sell those keyboards on your own site kind of thing for $15 kind of thing. And then that's going to force the retailers to come off their price.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody's going to be like, great keyboard, but do not buy it here. It's $15 over on their site. Go buy it there. $3,000 is garbage. And there will be tons of reviews like that on their pages. And then they will be forced to change their price. But it'll be your fault until it's not.
That I think pretty much explains everything about community engagement. It's your fault until it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're trying to build this, as we said, when you're trying to get started, that you want to be able to obviously people aren't expecting you to have your game 100% finish, day one, but
unless you don't release into early access.
Yeah.
If you release into 1.0, people are going to expect that.
Yeah. And it's always about managing these expectations and letting people know what truly is going on. Like we said, you can release a game with, missing assets, things not working right, if it's in early access and you explain that to people. One of the big tips we see from game demos that people talk about on Twitter is that you should say on there, okay, is this a pre-alpha build? Is this the version right before 1.0? You need people to know what they're getting into and how this is going to be different from your main game. Confusion is your enemy when it comes to all aspects of game development and community engagement.
Unless you're AAA. Which, in case, if you're AAA, confusion is your best friend. Because you can just confuse people with all these different packages on whether it's the gold edition, the silver edition, the gold silver edition, the platinum edition, the platinum silver edition, the platinum silver gold edition, the
deluxe platinum edition.
Yeah, the deluxe bronze edition, the bronze gold edition, the bronze platinum edition.
Mm-hmm.
The bronze platinum deluxe, super deluxe, deluxe edition. And you have to make a spreadsheet to explain to people, so that they know that basically they look at it and they know that they check out the spreadsheet to get everything. I have to give you all the money.
Yeah.
And then they give you all the money. That's where confusion comes ahead of you. But if you do that as somebody who is not AAA and does not have a fan base, what you're going to get is people to be like, nope, right out of there.
Yep, and that was the point that I wanted to make, that people will argue, well, how does Blizzard get away with this? How does Nintendo and Sony and any other major studio? And the thing is, major studios have one thing that indie developers don't have, and that is clout. And what works for a AAA company will often not work for an indie studio. Like we said,
it'll often anti-work for an indie studio.
Nintendo can go dark for a year and a half or more about a game, and then release, an image of a black silhouette with a question mark, with, question marks for dates, and people will jump for joy and be excited about that.
You do that as indie, nobody's going to even look at the post.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to look at anything. They're going to be like, the hell is this? The hell would I care? Get the heck off my, computer, phone, whatever, and be gone with you. Because, you're not Nintendo, so they don't care. You're not, Bethesda, so you don't care. You're not Nintendo. You're not Blizzard. You're not one of these companies. These companies can, just slowly pan, show one static background image and slowly pan the camera back for like 20 seconds before showing a logo that you're not going to know what it is unless you know what that company is. And people will absolutely get up and cheer, even though it's nothing but a single background shot kind of thing. and it takes 20 seconds. It's the slowest, most horrible trailer ever, kind of thing. And then it comes back even farther, and then you find out that it was made by whoever made the one show, the one thing with the zombies.
A Walking Dead.
No, not that one. The one that was controversial. The Last of Us. That's what they did for like a 30 or 40-second trailer. Was nothing but scrolling back off of that single screen for like 25 seconds before it revealed their logo, and everybody at GDC or whatever convention that was got up and cheered. The second they seen that logo, kind of thing, and and then it scrolled back for the and showed from the makers of Last of Us, Last of Us 2 is coming, and like the last people who didn't get that thing, jumped up and cheered at that point, kind of thing. But like they can do that because they are them. You can't do that because you aren't. Kind of thing. It's like it's like a rich person could go out and shoot somebody and pay the cops off, and they'll get away with it scot-free. You go out and do it, and you're going to get, you're going to be going to jail, if not worse, kind of thing. And you can't do it. You're not them. And it sucks that there is that kind of thing. But what's good for them is probably bad for you.
And nobody left a comment. I guess kind of will talk. How long do you guys think it will be until phone and tablet games are comparable to PC? I think a lot of that is going to have to come with getting a more tactile UI for that, because you can't really do as much with a touch-based interface as you would with a keyboard and mouse.
I mean, hardware-wise, they're pretty close.
Yeah.
But, functional-wise, they are not. They do not have, like a keyboard and a mouse. They do not have, multiple monitors. They do not have big monitors. They do not have standard size screens. Mm-hmm. They don't have good controls. They don't have good UI. And, a lot of that stuff will probably never be overcome until you can project out them, until you can get a projector kind of thing built into a phone kind of thing, where you can just put it on your phone and project it onto the screen, and it's a big screen TV kind of thing, and you press a button and it projects out a keyboard that you can type on the desk with, just by having a hard service kind of thing, and it detects that, which that is the technology that already exists, as is the monitor, but the projector for the monitor, but those are far from being in a phone, and far from being perfect, even at a large size, and then you still have the issue with the mouse kind of thing, and we got a lot of hurdles before we get to that point, but we may never get there, but when we perfect the technology that has the digital keyboards that project out onto the thing, and projectors that project out, and you're able to shrink it after you perfect it, we'll be a lot closer. You'll still have to deal with the mouse issue. I don't know what the solution to that would be, but
let me see. We're about almost at an hour and a half in. I'm trying to think if there's anything else regarding trust. Any other topics can you think of, Shark? We talked about community engagement. We've talked about what to do, what not to do. Internet is cutting in and out a little bit still. That's not a good sign for later.
I mean, the weather's, I'm sure the weather's really bad up there. And I know it's really bad here because, we got snow all over the ground here, which is, even on the driveway. So,
I guess while we're trying to think of anything, any questions about community engagement and stuff like that from the audience, from either one of our chats? Let's see.
I mean, it is a really simple, it's a really simple topic, but, there's a lot of, I don't think there's much to the topic, but the things that are there, there's a lot there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've covered everything that I can think of. We just haven't, I mean, we could always go more deep into detail with the things we've already covered, but I don't think there's anything else to it, kind of thing. Other, without getting into full on marketing kind of thing.
Yeah. That's a good point, Amir. Yeah, again, how much do you tell somebody? You should tell them enough that you're confident in what you're saying. Like, if you know 100% that, you're going to add X into your game, then say that. If you're not sure, like, never promise or never commit to something that you can't confirm. What's that expression that it's better to tell somebody
under promise and over deliver?
Yeah. It's better to say that you're only able to do something, but then go above and beyond, rather than promise that and then meet that point.
Mm-hmm. Because once you promise it, it becomes expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And expectations doesn't earn you any points, kind of thing. Going over expectations is what earns you points.
Yeah. If you can, again, you should be telling people what you're doing, and you should be able to tell them what you're confident in how the project is going. And if you can't do that, then you don't want to give them ammunition to be used against you. If you tell them that your game's going to have 15 different factions, it will be 80-hour plus grand adventure, and you can't deliver on that, you are going to have to do some major backpedaling. And another...
And people will hate you for it.
Yeah. Oh,
and I want to ask nobody the question, what do you mean by focusing on the balance? Do you mean neglecting other parts of the game, or do you just mean focusing on balance on top of not ignoring other things? Because if you mean not ignoring the other things, then I would disagree with you. But if you meant ignoring everything else, yeah, I would agree. Because you never want to ignore everything else. People want new content and expect new content regularly, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so you can't just focus on balancing, kind of thing. Now then, as long as you're doing all the new content and everybody that people are expecting, and then you're focusing on trying to get things balanced, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. You don't want your game, again, people should not be confused about the state of your game. Mm-hmm. And some of the mobile games that I play, I'm just at this point where nothing is happening, nothing's really being added other than monetization. I'm just like, why should I stick around?
Yeah. On the other hand, you also do not want to go overboard with the nerfs and buffs kind of thing, because like you can give your players basically shell shocked by going too far out on that kind of thing. You should only be focusing on getting the really bad stuff out of there. There needs to be, when you have a multiplayer design, there's two different ways. There's a symmetrical and there's an asymmetrical balancing kind of thing. If it's a symmetrical balancing, there shouldn't be a problem with nerfs and debuffs because, they're all the same across the board kind of thing. Now then if you're, maybe there's some issues, but, it'll be very, very minor because everybody has the equally broken stuff on both sides kind of thing. Maybe, of course, there's a strategy you did not want kind of thing, but, it's not really an issue. When you have the asymmetrical, though, you can have like what Magic the Gathering has last time I played it, to where, you run white and blue kind of thing and you win pretty much because white and blue says, hey, whatever card you played, you didn't play it You know, they're just, they're anti making you play the game, basically.
Yeah.
And the only, I built a deck to fight against that, and the way I fought against that was not because my deck was better than theirs. It was strategy, because they only have a limited number of cards to stop you from playing. So they're going to be looking for your win strategy, and they're going to be killing it, kind of thing. So what I did was built the exact wrong deck to play, and that's a deck with a lot of win strategies, kind of thing. So you trick them into thinking your win strategy is this kind of thing, and they do everything to crush you on that. And then once they have you crushed on that, you combo, some of your, many of your other cards that are remaining, play to this strategy. So you start playing this strategy, and then they run out of steam, and they can't take it out, and then they run out of steam, and then once you run out of steam, you can thrust through and kill them, kind of thing. And that's what I did with that deck, kind of thing was, but it was because that was my way around it. But unless you built all those multiple strategies, kind of thing, there was no beating them, because there was, if you had a legitimate, strategy, where, you had one strategy and that was a strategy to win, and you had, 15 direct cards that all, had you win, kind of thing. Well, they have like, 20 counter spells or maybe 10 counter spells and 10, removal of objects, kind of thing. So they're going to get rid of all 15 of those, and then they're going to get rid of, 5 more that are, potentially a threat, so like, it's, and it's very misbalanced, kind of thing. It's very unbalanced, and, it's not a good thing. And
but
so you definitely want to have a good balance in there, but asymmetrical design will always have a shift in balance, a shift in meta, kind of thing.
yeah, there's no way it's not balancing apples to oranges. It's balancing monkeys to panzer tanks or something else. Like, you're not going to get it to be 1-to-1. It's impossible.
Yeah, but you want them close enough that no deck automatically wins. You don't want it to where there is no choice. You run this deck or you lose.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
and
you want it where they can run any deck or any faction or whatever balance it is, and they can still win. It just may be harder because they have a disadvantage. They you won't have to specifically go for an anti deck to that one. We'll make 500 strategies, so they'll only be able to stop 3 or 4 of them, kind of thing, and we'll surely be able to maybe pull off one of the others and pull out a win at the end.
But
that is strategy.
We are getting off topic there. That could be something we're going to talk about in another stream. But I think Amir's question, I think that's going to be a good stop point. Like, I think this is a good one to end on. And that is, what happens when you have unforeseen problems? Because this is another big point. People don't like giving bad news. And that happens in just about all walks of life. And as a developer, game development is not an exact science. As we said, it's not magical, and sometimes things happen that are completely unforeseen. Whether it's something small like you missed a deadline, to something big like maybe somebody having a medical issue, having to drop out of a project. Or somebody just one day saying, I quit, and taking all the code with them, or anything along those lines.
Yeah, I've never had that happen.
No. And this is where being smart in terms of how you convey information to people comes into play. I know Battle Brawlers ran into this a lot with some of their decisions and such, but you need to be able to explain to people what happened, why this is happening, and how you're going to move forward with it. Like we've said, this is not the time to go silent, and it's not the time to be confusing. And very importantly, this is not the time to lie. Basically, the number one lesson for today is don't lie. Because if you get caught in that, all the trust and goodwill go down the drain.
Yep. And also as a developer, if you're running your own studio kind of thing, be prepared to be the bearer of bad news, because you're going to have to be the bearer of bad news at some points, because a feature didn't make it out in time. You're going to have to break it to them. You're going to have to tell them that we weren't able to get that feature in yet. You're bearing the bad news. You hiring people to your team, 20 people, 20 really, qualified people, let's say artists, 20 really talented artists apply for the job kind of thing. And you only have room for 3 kind of thing. And you would like to hire all 20 of these people, but you can't. So you have to tell 17 very talented people that they didn't get the job. You have to bear the bad news to them. And with that doesn't count the 100 or 200 people that applied that were not qualified, that you also have to bear the bad news to. And you have to get used to it. And it's hard. Ooh. It's hard. I've been dealing with a lot of bearing of bad news myself lately. And you could always do the bad thing like the companies do and just ghost people. They didn't, you didn't hire them, so you don't tell them anything. And then when they ask you, you either just don't reply to them, or you tell them, oh, we're still we'll keep your application on file, kind of thing, or something like that, and that's not a good way to run a business. And it, as an indie, it will absolutely come and bite you in the ass. Yep. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but one day when you're successful, then it'll come and bite you in the ass, and then you'll no longer be successful. So don't squander a future success by screwing things up now.
Yep. And like we've said, there are so many ways for you to make these kinds of unforced errors as a company. And part of it is learning it, and part of it, unfortunately, is kind of knowing what not to do before you do it, which can be very tough if you've never been very personable or very outgoing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if there's any other big examples I can think of. I guess one other thing. You kind of want to have, I guess, like a company persona with a lot of these situations. Like, we've seen some developers go for, we're going to communicate as the super bro dude or the super relaxed person, all of our messaging and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think to kind of build trust and also build relationship, you do need to have, like, the time when you put on, the business suit, I guess, in a manner of speaking.
Yeah. I mean, you could be like Wendy's and, do all the spicy memes and everything.
Yeah, but there comes a point that you need to be able to have that sit down, a serious talk about things. Whether it's a good serious or a bad one. But you need to be able to have that position for it.
Yeah. You definitely need to, you're running a business, so you need to run a business professionally, which means that you have to interact professionally, at least at some points.
And yeah, that's, I think, another really good point. Another advantage about having built up trust and being good with social, or being sociable, is that that can help you with talking to other people. If you remember that developer who he said like he's going to go and kill Gabe Newell because the game wasn't going, because Steam didn't deliver on when the game was going up on the store page. That wasn't the smartest thing to do.
No, I mean that's illegal crime for first of all, and second of all, it's not going to get you very far.
Yeah, here's another very complicated pro tip: don't wish death on people in your industry. There's our galaxy brain tip for our show today.
The 5 things to never do as an indie developer.
Mm-hmm. Lie, wish death, insult your fan base, not deliver on what was promised. Well, that's considered lying. Any other points?
Let's see here.
Don't be a jerk.
Have a community.
Yeah. Don't have a community and be a jerk. Those are the 5 things you want to avoid.
Mm-hmm. So now we need to start putting this in our title. Be clickbaity and the 5 things that you.
Mm-hmm. Or your studio will die.
Yeah. That'll be the title every week. It's the 5 things to do or not to do, or your studio will die. That'll be like you'll go down every one of our titles, and it'll be.
Somebody write down those 5 things, so I'm sure we're going to forget it after we turn off the stream.
Probably.
Mm-hmm. Alright, I think that's everything that I wanted to say.
In the end, all those things boil down to one thing. Don't be a douchebag, whether it's on purpose or accident.
Mm-hmm. Now you say it's the one thing to avoid and you'll be successful.
Because if you say you're going to have a bunch of things and then you don't come out with a bunch of things, you're being a douchebag. Yeah. It's not on purpose, but it's you're definitely being a douchebag on accident.
Mm-hmm. It's recorded, but that doesn't mean anything. We'll still forget it, I think, even if we check this out later.
Yeah.
And I guess, again, I say the final point. You are going to get people who are going to attack you. Whether you do anything wrong or not. You're going to have somebody, like Shark said, there's going to be people who are going to say Nyakatuma is a pay-to-win, POS, don't buy this game, it's stupid, and all that. Even if you do everything right.
Mm-hmm.
And part of building up trust with this community, again, is knowing how to respond. This kind of gets back to that conversation I had with John Brieger about playtesting. That people...
Or even if you should respond.
Yeah. People are going to hate your stuff. Doesn't matter if, you and your 5 friends and your family loves it. Doesn't matter if it's Game of the Year. Doesn't matter any of that. There are going to be people who hate your game. And how you deal with that is a major part of this. You don't want to be seen as the person who, they're nice as long as, you treat them like a god. And, the second you say anything bad, they're going to turn on you. Because I've dealt with people like that many times in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able, if somebody says your game is horrible or it's stupid or anything like that, you have to take that. And another thing,
and you either want to go radio silent on replying to them, or if you're going to reply to them, you have to you can't be angry when you do it. You gotta be like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Tell us, exactly what's making you feel this way, so that we can try to address that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And we've tried to do our best, but it wasn't good enough, obviously for you.
Even if, and I think one very important point, even if you are in the right, you cannot attack people.
Oh yeah, because then you're in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is nobody's going to care about random so-and-so who is a dick on the internet because there's billions of them. You know, everybody's going to care about this one developer that attacked a consumer because now you're a developer that attacks consumers, and it doesn't matter how much they ask for it, because the fact is all that stuff, all the stuff that they asked will be edited out, because the only thing that will be shown is your one single comment completely out of context.
Mm-hmm. And there are plenty of people out there who will jump on that, like hyenas, or vultures, or any other animal you can think of.
Yep, because only thing they're going to show is your one single comment out of context. They may even not even show your entire, reply. They may cut out some of it, and only show part of it. So you got to be real careful.
Mm-hmm. And I think Amir's comment there is a real good one to end on. Yeah, take the feedback and filter out the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And like we've said, and again, final point. If you cannot do this at all, if you are not sociable, you are not good at communicating, you cannot deal with any kind of criticism, hire somebody to do it for you. Even if it means giving a big portion of your budget to a PR person, do it.
But make sure you do not. You monitor them and make sure, because anything they do counts as you doing it.
Yeah. Because it is better to have somebody than, again, be radio silent. And oftentimes, that is the difference between success and failure for smaller studios. Because it doesn't matter if you have the best damn game on the market, if it's the one-of-a-kind original, it beats Minecraft and FTL and Darkest Dungeon combined, if literally nobody knows who you are or can even find your game.
Mm-hmm. And, I lost. I had something really good.
See, this is why we need people to write this stuff down.
Exactly. Oh, I wish I could remember it. It was such a good point.
Will Shark. Will he remember before the stream is over?
It's a good question. Probably not. You should not. The one time that you should go radio silent is to negative feedback kind of thing. Maybe not all of it, but if you don't want to ever negatively respond to anything. So basically, if you ain't got anything positive to say, don't say anything. A lot of times, kind of thing. You never want to say anything negative, basically, because that will be you saying something negative to the fan base, and they don't want that. You can't let that be seen. And I really hate that rule, and I do not stand by it in real life, but absolutely stand by it on your Steam page and anywhere public.
Anything that's considered your brand is the big point. And yeah, to nobody's comment, and that's another important thing about who do you respond to. Like, if you only respond to people who are overly positive, people will think that, you don't care about any of the issues. Likewise, if, people who are very hostile, very toxic to your community, you respond to them and you help them out, you're going to be seen as, you're stirring the pot and you're not trying to make things better.
Mm-hmm.
And to Amir's comment, again, I know we're thinking of, Yoko Taro, who we have never seen in public other than with his moon mask on. I think it can help to some aspect, but again, the advantages of being an indie developer is your ability to be very transparent with the consumer base. And like we said, you can, put little hints and tidbits and stuff like that, but you still need to communicate to people about what's going on. You don't have to put in a news piece exactly what you've done over the last 10 days down to the second, but the community should
I would
know.
suggest not doing that even if you could.
Yeah. You want to be able to communicate to people, what you've done, what you're doing now, and what are your plans? What is coming up? And when we say coming up, we don't mean 2 years from now. We mean, what are we going to see in the next 2 to 3 weeks? Maybe even just a week at tops.
Mm-hmm. Or the next big update.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a big update, you still have to make an update.
Mm-hmm.
The whole Woken issue as well, when they went dark for 3 to 6 months. Don't do that. Again, Nintendo, Blizzard, CD Projekt Red, they can get away with that. You can't.
Hello Games can also get away with that, but you can't.
And like we said, ultimately, the secret to all video game success is just be Nintendo, and you'll do fine.
Yep, that's the moral of today's story. Just be Nintendo.
There we go. But
so now you know exactly how to succeed. Just be Nintendo.
We're done. We don't need to do any more videos or streams.
Nope. This is the last one. We'll
go on the perfect high note.
See you next, I don't know, millennium or something.
Sometime between next week and 30 years from now, we'll be back.
Yeah.
And don't forget,
probably closer to 30 years because we just cracked the code. Just be Nintendo.
Yeah. And Char, you need to make a Twitter announcing a trailer, announcing a video that will announce when you're going to make a trailer about your next video.
Yeah, exactly. And that
right.
video will announce when there will be a trailer for the game.
Mm-hmm. Or is there even a game?
Mm-hmm.
But that will do it for this week's show. If you have a topic for us to cover for another episode, please let us know in the comments or join our respective Discords. You'll find them in the description down below. If you are working on an indie game and could use some help with store page and marketing, again, a lot of this has been marketing related, tune into our Thursday show, Indie Inquiries, starting around 3:30, and we are always looking for store page submissions from that.
Mm-hmm. And you can, also check down the description, and there's a link to both my YouTube channel and Josh's, where you can see both of these shows, as well as other shows for Josh's and other shows for mine. Josh does game streams every night and developer interviews, and I have my game stream and my dev stream where you can watch me make Neon Continuum. And, as Josh said, join both our Discords, and there's both of our Twitters down in the description as well. Is that everything?
Smash the like button, do all the subscribing.
No. You can't smash the like button. You gotta lick the smash button. Lick it, with your tongue. You gotta lick the smash button.
I think that make it as a D mod, maybe. But I will be back later tonight around 9:30 for our game stream. And like I said, Thursday we'll be doing our next show, and these shows are streamed live for 4:30 ET on Sundays.
But the D mod will be worth it as long as they lick the smash button.
There we go. So, if you have any more questions for us, be sure to join our respective Discords and we can talk there. Come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where he's in the art and science of games. Have a great Valentine's Day, and we will see you next time. Take care.
See ya, Smash Lickers.